Very good. Good to meet you. Okay, Tammy, you want to tell me a little bit about item number 1?
Yeah, so this proposal rather is a 4-lot subdivision. The first phase of Chalets at Powder Mountain recorded back in March of this year. This is located immediately adjacent to the Shelter Hill subdivision at the end of Summit Pass Road. There's a map in there that shows you. Okay. Applicant is proposing 4 lots within an area that totals a little over 2.3 acres. It is located in the DRR-1 zone. So as far as lot development standards, there is no minimum area nor minimum width located in this, okay? The lots range, however, from a little over 17,000 to a little over 31,000 square feet.
In the proposal or along that road already?
In the proposal. Okay. Along that road, you've got larger lots, actually. Let's see, we do have a development report as of the date of the staff report. The total number of recorded lots under the Powder Mountain Development Agreement is 245. That may or may not include, I'm not sure if it includes any of Felix's because we're running applications concurrently for Powder Mountain.
That is, how are we going to, I mean, we're not very close to our build-out number, right?
No, we're not. There's, the development agreement allows for 2,800 total units under the development agreement.
So maybe as we get closer to 2,000, we figure out how to make sure we're not
even they are
overlapping.
divided up into areas. So maybe as you get close to maybe 1,000 or 1,200, I think this particular area is maybe up to 1,400, and that triggers some additional development standards. So as we get closer, those will probably be mentioned in more detail in these staff reports.
Okay.
We do have a capacity assessment letter from Powder Mountain Water and Sewer for both culinary water services and sanitary sewer services for this. Trails. One thing that the development agreement mandates were trails that are open and available to the public at all times. Some of these subdivisions have been platting over some of these existing trail areas, and so staff has asked the Powder Mountain team to provide an updated trail master plan to show where some of these will be relocated and how they will continue to be made accessible to the public. So Powder Mountain has agreed to do that as they submit subsequent applications for subdivision. With this particular subdivision, all of the improvements, including the cul-de-sac in this, have been escrowed for in phase 1. And so engineering has confirmed we don't need additional escrow funds for this particular phase, even though we've included it as a condition just to cover ourselves in case we're short anywhere. But I talked to Tucker this morning, and he didn't seem to think we were going to need anything. So that'll change. They'll double check that prior to reporting. The other thing I will mention is there has been extensive discussion regarding the number of terminal roads in this development. And so I know that in the previous administrative review meeting, we gave a conditional approval to another development within Powder Mountain with an added condition. And so I've made the applicant aware that that will likely be added in the meeting again today. It was not included in the staff report. And so we recommend approval subject to the added condition that I'm sure you will state as you make your approval, or your recommendation rather, and based on at least the first condition of approval, which is a natural hazards disclosure document, shall be recorded with the final plat. We may want to keep the second one in there regarding escrow just to give us an opportunity to verify that we don't need any additional funds for anything that is proposed in phase 2. But again, engineering doesn't think we will need that.
Tell me a little bit about the natural hazard that was found on site.
Just that, I'm not sure if I outlined them in here. We do have geotech report for that entire area for Shelter Hill, Chalets Phase 1. We have one for this one, and so we would apply the same standards in that natural hazard report as we outlined in Phase 1. I apologize, I don't have that staff report in front of me that outlines them.
Okay. Assuming though, so the natural hazard disclosure is required because a hazard was identified and there's mitigating factors that are
Yes,
mitigating
slope
it?
stability is not one of them. Typically it has to do with standing water,
Oh, okay.
standing pockets of water, but slope stability is not necessarily an issue in this, in this area.
Any concerns? I guess our natural hazards ordinance doesn't Does it talk much about avalanche or anything like that?
It does, yeah. And these, Powder typically is pretty good at outlining an avalanche mitigation plan when they submit their development applications.
I don't know that I've ever known an avalanche to happen up there. Is that a frequent thing? Any kind of avalanche issues up there? Maybe a little bit in the canyon going up?
It happens a decent amount. There's a lot of different mitigation that our ski patrol does, but that's on slopes over 30% where avalanches usually happen, and because of that percent slope, almost none of our single-family residential lots are within 30%. That's 30% or less.
I will tell you, we haven't had to request a buildable area on really any of these.
Okay.
Not all of the Powder Mountain development area is within a geologic hazard study area, and most of those slopes sit below where these developments are occurring. They're developing kind of near the top of the mountain where the slopes are far less than 30%.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay. And one last request on the plat. I see a recreation easement. Can you tell me what that is? I don't see any language. Probably dedication language on another page somewhere.
Yes, in the master declaration, it lays out our recreation easement. The recreation easement is for multiple different uses. That in this specific situation, it's for ski access of the lot owner specifically, so they don't cross other people's properties. Recreation easement is very broad for any recreational uses, seasonally from winter to summer. Whether it's hiking and biking, it's where we can put hiking and biking trails. It's where we can put ski runs. So anything recreation related.
Okay. As far as the instrument that creates the recreation easement, is there like a master instrument showing where these are, and then they get kind of further honed in, survey level accuracy through the platting, or will there need to be an easement that creates this easement? An easement that creates the easement. A document that creates the easement after the platting.
There's multiple routes. With that, if it's on the face of the plat and there's no blank entry number, a dedication. If there's blank entry numbers, creating legal instruments of various easements is recorded before the plat is actually recorded in writing in those entry numbers.
Okay. I think that's what I wanted to kind of hone in on. The recordation of the plat and the dedication language on a plat, to my understanding, can only dedicate property, can only act as the transference document between private and public. That's just in state statute. And so normally, in order for what's notated on the plat as being a private easement, I'm assuming this is a private recreation easement, or is it being dedicated to the county?
All recreation easements, I would have to defer to the master declaration.
Catching you off guard, I apologize.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's just fine.
Can I just interject with maybe a little bit of additional information? So in the development agreement, when it outlines those recreation activities or facilities that are dedicated to the public, it doesn't necessarily lay out locations outside of the kind of the regional trail plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and so
that's probably not survey level accurate, right? It's just kind of identifying.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. And so in this case, when we're looking at recreation facilities, we're looking at the language in there. We're not necessarily looking at the maps that would outline where every one of these is. So
Okay.
if it's for hiking, biking, ski in, ski out, I think it's got to be public
Okay.
per their development agreement.
Okay. And that's what this one particularly is for.
I believe so. You're saying it's a ski in, ski out specifically for this particular development?
It's when there's interaction between ski infrastructure and single-family residential lots. Obviously, outside of this plat, there's thousands and thousands of acres that are recreation. But it's when it's specifically interaction between single-family residential lots to just ensure that all lot owners have access.
Okay. Let's we'll go ahead and issue a approval of this, but there's a couple of just little caveats. And I forgot the thing that I asked you to give me to the tree.
The notice of
Do you have it with
decision?
you? I'll go
Nope, I
grab
handed it back to you. Do you want me to grab it?
it. You know, it's on my table
Okay, I'll grab it. Excuse me.
amongst the papers. Good luck.
May I speak on a few of the conditions? Should I wait for Tammy to come back?
Whichever you choose.
Or I'll wait.
Okay. So one of the things I'll probably mention in the condition of approval is just re-verification of the legal authority to create the easement by plat as opposed to easement by instrument. If it needs to be created by instrument and just referenced by plat, we can make that happen with the recording or before recording. One thing that often happens when surveyors aren't careful about the way they word things or the way they put things on plats is you have things that are noted for a purpose, but then there isn't anything that says how that right transfers from one owner to the next owner. And this happens all the time with HOA property, with private easements, even sometimes utility easements that aren't county utility easements, but are public utility easements. They're not always dedicated correctly. Anyway, when I first got here to Weaver County, I found out we were dedicating all kinds of things, public, private, nonprofit, through virtue of a plat. And we had good, I don't know if you remember this conversation, we had a good conversation. Cortland was pretty new at the time, and Chris Crockett, our lead, now lead civil attorney, had a good sit down, and apparently there are some court cases that say, hey, if we're trying to figure out what the intent is, maybe we look at what the notes on the plat say, but is this really a conveyance? Basically, the one court case that they brought to us was two private entities suing each other. Something was supposed to be transferred from one to the other. It didn't happen, so they sued, and the judge used the notation on the plat as the guiding reference on what was supposed to happen, and then made their judgment based on that. So, if we can be as clean as we can be and avoid all that, that would be awesome. So, that was my song and dance to wait for you to come back.
Okay.
So with that in mind, I'm going to add just a fifth condition. Good luck, Tammy and Marta, tracing my thoughts on this. But let's go ahead and go with the condition of approval that is in the staff report, the two that are in there, plus condition number 3 would be the approval is condition on, condition on the developer. Let me rephrase it. Let me just read it. Approval is conditioned that the developer can provide the evidence, which is a legal analysis, in the record that the county's dead-end road standards don't apply to the extension of these roads. If this evidence doesn't exist, then the application shall be brought back to re-review and reconsideration approval. So we can re-review and reconsider the approval. And then condition number 4 would be to verify that if that is an easement intended to be dedicated for public use, the other thing the state statute says is that when you dedicate for public use, you also have to declare what that public use is. So verify whether or not that's intended to be dedicated to the county for public use or for private, dedicated to a private entity, homeowners or whatever. If it's private, just make sure that there's an easement instrument that follows along and that there isn't any misstatement in the dedication language about the transference of that. Okay. So that's approval of item number 1. Let's move on to item number 2.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tammy, for giving me that. Okay, this one, and you can go through stay here or go you choose. Might be fun to listen to a boring meeting.
Sorry, it might be too late, but I was hoping to talk a little bit on terminal, and it was trails one of the conditions as well.
Trails was one of the conditions in our last meeting.
It's in the staff report.
It is in the staff report, isn't it? We can talk about Brim Trail, the other trail. Yeah, so in the same meeting we can recall any decision that has been made. So we could pause the approval and feel free.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have asked you.
No, sorry. To start out with the trails, since the Brim Trail wasn't located in any of this development area and there was no existing trails within the Prado Phase 2, I would like that to potentially be removed because it's not associated with the subdivision plat that was submitted. And then additionally, with our 2014 master plan, there's a trails plan that was submitted within that, and it shows where those trails were planned. It is pretty minimal of what we plan and anticipate, but since we are going above and beyond of the 2014 approved master plan, seeing if this can potentially, in future submittals, can we just resubmit what was submitted and approved in 2014 to resolve this condition?
I think so.
Well, my issue is in Shelter Hill, you've platted over a good area of the trail. So we need to know where. We allowed you to record, we allowed approvals for that. And so we need to know where that's going to be relocated. And I think at least...
Brim Trail?
Yes, that's one of them. There's another one, I think that's a White Pine Trail. But the only condition that I had in here was just when you submit further applications, we weren't going to hold up recording.
Understood.
But when you submit further applications, we need to know where that trail is going to be relocated. So I don't know if the 2014 plan is going to suffice, given that we have a trail in place and it's now been platted over.
It's a good observation. So I think what I'm hearing from you is that the trail requirement for that particular trail, Brim Trail, for example, the 2014 approvals didn't specify the Brim Trail as a required trail. Is that what I'm hearing? Therefore, it's probably okay to plat over them. Is that kind of the gist of what I'm hearing?
I mean, these are two separate projects. With this specific subdivision, there are 0 existing trails.
With the one on the agenda today?
Yeah, and,
okay.
And that's what I want to just explain. And thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're not holding up
for
recording.
future development areas.
Yes.
Understood.
Yeah.
It is an interesting question. I think it comes down to how the development agreement reads. If a trail is created as a public trail, how was these trails created as public trails? Were they just created and people were allowed to use them, or?
That's a good, I don't know. I do know that the Brim Trail and White Pine Trail are public trails. And they're cited in the development agreement as a public amenity.
Brim and White Pine?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
As a public amenity, and now they've been platted over. So we just need to know where those will continue outside of Shelter Hill specifically. Things like that, Eric, we just will continue to mention in Powder Mountain staff reports. It doesn't mean we'll still allow you to record this one. It just means we just like to bring it up so that you guys are aware that we will ask for it.
Understood.
Also helps a little bit with public confidence. You probably
Yeah.
know that we've got a number of people who really think that Powder Mountain is just hell-bent on making everything private. And so it just helps, hopefully, if they're paying attention, remind them, no, we are following the development agreement. The developer's not asking to deviate or yield from that. So
Understood.
hopefully it helps.
That's helpful.
Talk to me a little bit about dead-end roads, terminal streets.
With terminal streets, per our development agreement, that was recorded. Before we need a second access, we need 1,477 units developed and approved. We are a long ways from that point, and we had a meeting earlier today with Weaver County. We're going to create legal analysis as well, but then also at the same time, all of these roads are approved a part of that development agreement with concept area maps that mimic the road alignments that are approved in the subdivision plats. And then and another thing that I want to reiterate, it's a very, very difficult topography up on the mountain. There's a lot of terrain change, and making connections. We have very
On paper, it
experienced.
looks easy, right?
On paper, it looks super easy,
Flat.
but also at the same time, to connect some of these streets to go into a canyon, you're gonna have to do over 1,000 feet of elevation gain, and it's just not possible. And another thing that I want to reiterate, before we initiate submission to the county, we work with the Weber Fire District to ensure that we are compliant with the fire district, fire turnarounds and roundabouts, trying to create as much connectivity as possible, but it's limited in this part.
Because of the terrain. Yeah, that makes total sense. Are we getting topographic contours with the subdivision submittals?
Yes, I believe so, yeah. I
So
mean, they're
when
not
we
showing
look
on
at
the
the-
final plat,
No,
but.
we don't want them on the plan, just with the framework.
They are all included on the final and preliminary civil engineering plans.
Okay, so it should be obvious from those that there's some drop-offs that just can't.
It does. I think the heartburn that planning has is where the development agreement seems to conflict with ordinance, right?
Right.
We have an ordinance that is very specific about what a terminal dead-end street is
Yeah,
and how many lots are off of there. And the way, at least as far as I know, the way planning staff continues to read that definition, all of Powder Mountain Road is one access. And so we understand topography challenges, and with each of these, we will continue to do our best to reconcile what's being proposed with the development agreement and the ordinance that it at times appears to conflict with. So that's why it continues to come up.
I just need this guy to tell me we're good. It's
Yeah.
defensible, and when somebody comes to appeal, it's not gonna cost the county a lot of money to take care of.
Yeah.
I would say as long as you're following the development agreement, that was already decided.
Yeah, perfect. So that'll be very helpful, and look forward to seeing what you guys put together as far as legal analysis goes. I think the best, I put it best, but two things can be true at the same time. The code can say one thing, and the development agreement can say another thing that can do a conflict, but both of them don't apply or whatever. That's what I want. I want to just make sure that if the development agreement is what it is, maybe preempts the code changes or whatever it is, I'd like to make sure that the attorneys have talked about that, worked it out, and got that in black and white so that we could just move on, throw it to bed, and not have to deal with it anymore.
Understood.
Otherwise, I could see a lot of challenges
Yeah.
coming from the valley residents.
I think also too, when we get these type of development applications, Eric, the burden kind of does fall on the applicant to show us how you're complying. And so that's another reason why we ask for that. If you guys can show us that you're compliant with it, we're
We
good.
don't need to make waves,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Perfect. So go back to saying that that project is approved. We good? Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. No worries. Okay, item number 1.2. That's the Little Mountain Industrial
Wait,
Park.
Charlie, are you making any changes to the conditions?
Just adding the two extra ones that I added on. Just that. Oh yeah. So no changes to what we just discussed.
Okay. Thank you.
It's just keeping with what we had previously. We didn't have any trail considerations and the conditions on this.
Not in this. We just will continue to bring it up.
Okay. Right. Now 1.2. Okay. Okay. What about your name?
Scott Carlson.
Scott. Let me write it down so I don't forget it. I'm terrible with names. Okay, Felix.
Yes.
Why don't you run us through this one?
Okay. So we have a subdivision proposal out in Western Virginia, the M3 zone. And this is for 6 lots. So what they're doing is they're actually platting land that was previously divided out by deed. And they're looking to, there's several owners that are looking to finish out this phase of development to get the subdivision approved. That way they can have some structures for industrial businesses located on these properties. And so you have, I believe you have several different owners that are involved with this land, and the owners would be doing a range of different types of manufacturing uses. So the uses would fit well within this area. And the subdivision itself, the way that land is divided and shown on the subdivision plat, each lot meets the requirements for the M1 zone as far as area and width and things like that. So, yeah.
Good clarification.
And so we have a request for final approval of the Little Mountain subdivision, Little Mountain Industrial Park. And this property it accesses from a county road, a public road called 900 South, and the approximate west location is 9175. And so this proposal would actually construct a new road intersecting with 900 South, and this road would continue southward, and it would be called 9175 West Street. And the owner has provided with their application a will serve letter for water, and also a will serve letter from Little Mountain Sewer District that will treat this effluent. We also have a geotech report that kind of guides the construction of the public road and preparations for that public road. And we also have a traffic study with this application. Staff's analysis, there's a couple of things that I'd like to highlight that are related to our analysis, which in this case, considering that this proposal is less than 9 lots, it can be approved as a small subdivision, which is an administrative proposal that could be approved by the planning director. And being that this property was previously subdivided by deed, there is a remainder parcel on the northwest corner of this property that is left out of the development. It is the county's observation that this should be included because this remainder of the parcel is not considered an agricultural parcel. We're also looking at block lengths because their proposal to create a street that terminates at a cul-de-sac. The street is around 745 feet long, and it falls between the ideal distance of a placement of a block, of the creation of a block. So there's a portion of the code that relates to the creation of blocks that should be fulfilled by this subdivision design, but it is not fulfilled at this time. We're also looking at building setbacks from future right-of-way. So 900 South is proposed to become a 132-foot right-of-way. It's not that narrow right now, it's 100 feet right-of-way. So with future expansion of the right-of-way and widening of the street, additional right-of-way dedication would be wanted or needed. Planning Division is asking for right-of-way dedication, but the subdivision plat does not depict any right-of-way dedication for 900 South.
Okay. Any right-of-way dedication?
No.
Okay.
And so we're also looking at, the general plan shows a frontage road of sorts that runs parallel to 900 South on the south side. It's planned to be between the train tracks and 900 South. So it would almost act as a frontage road for commerce. That will provide additional frontage for business and commerce along that frontage road. Because what we're trying to do ideally is limit the number of access points off of 900 South, because of that is considered an arterial street. And so as of now, the plan that they've shown does not provide any right-of-way dedication nor any easements for future public right-of-ways in an east-west direction. So it's staff's recommendation that should be shown. We were able to collect comments from fire and engineering. Most of engineering comments are satisfied, and they've been either addressed or satisfied at this point. there's some comments from the Weber Fire District that I recently received. Was they're asking for 32 feet of asphalt on 9175 Street. The current civil plan does not show 32 feet.
Sorry, 32 feet of asphalt?
Yes. And so we're also looking at sensitive events out in this area. Just simply judging off the maps drawn, supplied by the National Wetlands Inventory, does show some wetlands in this area. And so the county engineering has requested that the applicant provide a wetland study to kind of pinpoint or see if at all there are wetlands on this property that should be preserved or, I guess,
Mitigated in some way?
mitigated, yes. And so the Westmoreland Water District is ready to provide culinary water to this development with the condition that there is no outdoor watering. So the county does have that agreement in place where we would require the developer to sign a landscape restriction covenant. And so that will be helpful just to show that the Westmoreland Water, that the county does have some things in place to enforce outdoor water restrictions. Let's see here. Going on to the staff's recommendations, I've listed 10 conditions and also some findings in my recommendation. But it's at this point it's staff's recommendation that we table the decision for Little Mountain Industrial Park environmental approval request. And I spelled those out, those conditions and the findings pretty well in my report. And I've included in my report the several exhibits that also help to provide a little more detail into this proposal. And also at the end of my report, you can find the exhibit E,
Correspondence.
which are correspondence between the developer and the county review agencies, and how the developer has been working to address and answer some of the questions that we have. So, with that, we haven't to answer any questions. That's it.
I think I am going to have a few questions. Let's see if I can organize my thoughts on it. Sorry, I was late to the meeting because some of the items in your report kind of stimulated a few questions, so I wanted to make sure I better understood as far as both the way the county code works and the state code works. So give me just a moment here. Small subdivision, prelim and final are combined.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. Thank you for coming.
I have some questions. Annex 371, Arlette Drive. M-A-R-L-E-T-T-E.
Oh, I was not even close, was I?
No. Well, what do you do? Well, Harrisville is on the, down North Street. Harrisville is at the center of the street over, and obviously it's this way. And I'm in about the subdivision of Plato. This is the plat, shows where we're at. And we have a water main.
Is it okay if we close the door so we aren't picking up all of his
Please-
comments?
Please feel free. Now it's part of the public record forever.
It's our responsibility. So, I've been there 40 years. And
That's probably-
if you get out of the city, sort of patrolling them, we have robberies. He said you're a little con. I said, "Well, con that." So, we're getting the run around, and he's got 28 calls. And as soon as he gets in contact, I'm starting to know. And he's like, "Son, you know, young ones, we have babies and stuff, they have them all." No one heard of that.
Okay, a couple of questions for you, Felix. How many review cycles has this subdivision gone through?
They're at 2.
Two.
We would take opposition to that
Okay, what do you think it's been?
4. And depending how you really look at it, 12.
Okay. 12 because you're probably going back and forth with
If-
different
No,
departments?
if we count the 2022 through
Ah.
24 cycle,
Was
which
it-
is a separate application, but the same project.
Perfect, thank you. Makes sense. So review cycle is not complete if there's a failure to address, but if there's not a failure to address, it is complete. So yeah, let's see if we can look at that. So we have our fourth and final review, contract to respond within between business days, county shall where's the property owner and control days after the date on which the review is received for dispute arising, so civil appeal, okay, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully we don't have to get to that point. Okay.
I think I can explain why we're counting different.
Yeah.
The state code doesn't have anything in code allowing for partial reviews.
Partial, oh, right.
It's a review or it's not a review.
Yeah.
And it doesn't allow anything for a partial submittal from the applicant side or a partial response. So when we've received comments from the county, we consider that to be a review. It's the entire set of comments we got, and we responded to the entire set of comments received. And then when we receive a different set of comments, we consider that to be the next review cycle.
Okay.
What's happened is that reviews are coming from different departments at different times.
That makes sense.
And so we're getting conflicting reviews from one department to the next, which is a challenge for us. And then we're responding in full to each one. And then we're receiving new comments on a subsequent review that were not on the prior review. and are not related to health and safety. And they're not related to our prior, any changes from our prior submittals.
Okay.
So we're not seeing continuity with the state code.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation. As far as the 2 reviews that we've done, have all of the responses that have come back, have they addressed all of the concerns, or have there been any that have been missed? I mean, my understanding of the way this works is they could probably just respond with, we don't think that applies, and it's a response, even if it technically does apply, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it went down. Their response was very similar to that.
Okay.
I don't think it was that similar to that. I think it was very detailed with an explanation of why it doesn't apply, or why the code reference in the comment is not applicable. So it's not just that we said, oh, that doesn't apply.
Right. Okay.
But we gave a very detailed explanation for why that code doesn't apply to the request.
Okay, cool. I'm going to need your help on this then. Are you in state statute?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm looking at, by the way, Cortland is our legal advisor. We make sure that we keep our notes clean. Is that a drug reference? I didn't mean it that way. Strike that from the record. Okay, so I'm in 1779-706. It looks to me like review
Charlie?
time for.
Sorry to interrupt. It looks like computer might restart. I do have this recording going as well, just in case.
Thank you. That is obnoxious.
Yeah, it says it's going to restart in 5 minutes, so just FYI.
Jeez. I'll see if we can wrap up in time. Looks to me like the time frame for review responses isn't applicable because it's not a residential development of a certain type, but the amount of reviews still appears to be applicable. Does that sound right to you?
Yep.
Okay. Does that sound right to you?
It's been a while since I've read this section.
Let me help you. So,
detail.
17-79-706, Part 5.
Progress.
And Part 7 is what I'm looking at.
Those were the residential segments, you mean?
So
I've got it
five.
under a different code number, but I think it's the same.
They recodified mid-year last year and moved everything for probably just to give us all
Just
a
make it
field
harder,
meeting.
yeah. So, yeah, subsection 5 and 7, I think those particular belong just to residential. But 8, I say 8E, still has dates in there. 8E sub I.
Okay.
Are you finding that in the same?
Yeah, let me make sure it says the same thing that you're thinking it says. So E sub I, this section 8 applies if an applicant does not submit a revised subdivision improvement plan within 20 business days after the county requires modifications. If the county has a population over 5,000, which we do. So, okay.
Recording in progress.
So 2 would be if an applicant does not submit a revised subdivision improvement plan within the time specified. County has an additional 20 business. Okay. So this is a time frame for whatever reason seems to apply to everything and only applies to the developer. Does that sound right?
It's kind of, I would say,
All encompassing.
looks to me like the legislature misunderstood or missed something when they were writing it because it probably is that.
I know exactly what
But,
happened. Yeah,
but I look at it and say, I've got to make sure I respond within 20 days.
yes, that's right.
And so I've done that in each of those reviews to make sure I was
Recording
in
in
cycle.
progress.
Legislature makes more problems than they solve. I was a little bit surprised that the developers really advocated for this because I read it to be incredibly strict on a developer. It's strict on us,
It is.
but I mean, it should be strict on us. We're the reviewers. We should be held accountable. But So I read this to say that residential, the county has a specific period of time to give a response. Commercial and industrial not, or other types of development not. But regardless of residential or industrial, the applicant has to respond within 20 business days. That's harder on the applicant.
It's probably not that big of a deal because
You've responded.
subsection double I has and what happens if the applicant doesn't get it done within 20 days? It just says that the county will get 20 more days
Yeah.
in the response, which didn't have a date in the first place.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
Under this situation.
I
So
appreciate
I'm not
that.
sure it's really valuable.
Okay. I know I was on the committee when they rewrote this. They rewrote it and then revised the revision the following year and reorganized it.
Yeah,
And I
they
think
did.
they took some things out of sequence. So, yeah, good observation there. Okay, so the main point, Cortland, that I just wanted to review with you on the record, and we can always defer to another meeting too if we need to have a little bit more research done. But it's a part 8B1, subject to subsection 8B2, unless the change or correction is necessitated by the applicant's adjustment to a subdivision improvement plan or an update to a phasing plan that adjusts the infrastructure needed for the specific development. A change or correction not addressed or referenced in a county subdivision improvement plan is waived. Change or correction not addressed or referenced. A change or correction. Do you think that's meant to read any item not addressed in the county's review shall not apply? Because if it's a change, it's seemingly a change because a review has taken place and has been commented on or something.
That would be the first way I would read it, but let's see here. So unless the change or correction,
I read this a lot of times, and I'm reading that the review process creates a list of changes or corrections, right? And if a change or correction that is wanted today, for example, in review 3, was not addressed or referenced in review 1 or 2, that requirement, which would necessitate a change or correction, has been waived. So
I can see that.
to help not bring up ongoing things
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Nickel and dime you until the end.
Right, and it's also to ensure that we get a full review on the first time through. Here's an example
Please.
of where where it comes up as a problem. This is the county engineering department's review, the first review. Okay, and the last comment in it says, I have tried to address all items of concern from the engineering department. However, this review does not forego other items of concern that may come to this department's attention during additional reviews or during construction of improvements. So to add that in says, I don't know anything about the state code and the requirements, and it says, if I find something later, I'm going to throw it in there no matter whether I'm allowed to or not.
Right.
Another part of that comment that causes us a difficulty is the review we got from the county surveyor's office.
Okay.
This one is his second review, and it says, to prevent unnecessary submittals and delays in the review process, the surveyor's office will review the plat. Whoops, I didn't print all of it. Provided reviews and red lines from these reviews which affect the final plat design have been addressed. So he's saying, and that was his response, and then I sent a request to Felix and then also to the surveyor. And even get it better here. Oh, the surveyor's office will review the final plat once planning and engineering departments have provided reviews and red lines from these reviews which affect the final plat design have been addressed. See planning and engineering latest reviews for clarity. So the response from the surveyor is saying, I'm not reviewing it.
We're not even looking at it.
We're not going to look at it, right? So to me, that's his review. And he's part of the overall county review.
And if he's got additional comments that would come up later, they might have to be waived because he basically
waived his
ability.
opportunity to do it by saying, I'm not going to review your stuff.
Okay.
And what he's really referring to in this particular case is the disagreement about this east-west road.
Okay.
That would create another easement. It would need to show on the plat. And he's saying, you guys go work that out. When you got that all worked out, then I'll take a look because I don't want to waste my time reviewing it this multiple times.
Okay.
So nonetheless, I don't think that is valid under state code for either engineering or surveying to say, we're not going to provide you a complete review.
Okay.
I think that's what this code you're reading is exactly addressing.
What do you think?
I do read 8D1 that way, meaning I read it as saying that a change or correction that the county is going to require has to be stated in a review unless the applicant
Makes an
later
adjustment.
makes an adjustment or an update or something that adjusts the infrastructure or something. And then, the county can address that, or if it's something to protect the public health or safety or to enforce state or federal law. But other than those situations, I do think this does say it needs to be brought up in the first review, otherwise it's waived.
Okay, so then the next question I have is, from a legal standpoint, what does the word waived imply?
That implies that the county doesn't have the authority anymore to require it.
To require what the code requires.
Well, to require whatever change or correction the county wants to make or wants to require to be made.
So,
But
you
if
got the
it's,
review.
if
Go
it's a
ahead.
state or federal law, or if it's something necessary to protect public health and safety, then the county can still require it. But if it's something that's a county code provision, not required by state or federal law, not necessary to protect public health and safety, then I would say the county basically is stopped from requiring that county code section.
The county code section.
The county code section. The county is considered to have waived the county code section applicability.
And that's the rub that I'm having, is I don't know that it says that the code is waived. I think it says that we can't readdress it in our review. Not to say that that's what they meant. I think they might have meant that that code is waived. But it doesn't say that.
But how would we, as a county, require them to comply with the code? I mean, I agree. The writing of the code section here, D1, is not clear on that point. But the only way for us to enforce that would be to require them through a review process to,
Is that the only way? That's really where we come to an intersection on this review today.
I would say that we'd have to fall back on probably the concept that
The intent.
if there's a tie, it goes to the property owner.
Okay.
If there's an ambiguous code, it's got to be interpreted in favor of the property owner.
And just to be clear, so you're tracking my train of thought here. I've always had a little bit of a question about this paragraph, even after it first came out. Actually, it came out a different version the first time, and then it was redone to add the term waived. And the way it says waived could be interpreted to mean that we just can't say it anymore in our reviews. But does that also mean that we can't actually apply it when a final approval happens? And that's one of the rubs that I have with the way they reconfigured this, is they talk about review as if it is a thing separate. Well, actually, Problem is, they don't talk about review and approval as the same thing. And some jurisdictions have approval as this thing and review as that thing. Review leads to approval. And if that's the way that our code works, or the statute infers it could work, the land use authority could still potentially apply the code as it is written, despite the fact that the code prohibited the engineers from filling in the blanks that they never addressed. I do believe that the legislature probably meant to say that the code shall be waived, or the code requirement shall be waived.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I would have a hard time believing that they would write this in here if they were going to allow the county to just turn around and say, even if we didn't mention this, and even if,
We
nothing
were
was said
prohibited from
about it.
mentioning this.
Yeah, they still have to comply with this. That wouldn't make sense.
Sure, it would be nice if the legislature would help some of this adjust the way things are written. Okay. I guess the implication is a change or correction should not be requested by the county unless it complies with code in the first place, right? We're not just making it up as we go, in theory.
Yeah,
I mean, in law as well, but
because if the application complies with code, I mean, and all requirements, then we have to approve it.
okay.
Generally speaking.
Gordon, tell me a little bit about your interpretation or thoughts behind review cycles.
So as I look at the definition here, it means the occurrence of the applicant's submittal of a complete subdivision application. Do you know if that happened here?
Yes.
The first time, was there a submittal of a complete subdivision application?
And complete subdivision application is essentially defined as the documents that the county requires, not necessarily a complete code compliant subdivision.
Right.
Okay.
So that would be how I would interpret it. All the documents the county requires are there. That would be my interpretation.
Yeah. So that, looks like we received a complete one.
Okay, so then the second thing we have to look at is the county's review of that subdivision application. And then we get the county's response to that subdivision application in accordance with the section. And then the applicant's reply to the county's response that addresses each of the county's required modifications or requests for additional information. So, let's see here. A county shall publish a list of the items that comprise a complete subdivision land use application. So that again implies there's a list of items. If they check all those boxes, it's considered
is
a
complete.
complete application. So then, in reviewing it, this is 8A. A county may require additional information relating to an applicant's plans to ensure compliance with county ordinances and approved standards and specifications for construction of public improvements, and modifications to plans that do not meet current ordinances, applicable standards or specifications, or do not contain complete information. And then B, the county's request for additional information or modifications shall be specific, and include citations to the relevant governing laws, right? Or specifications. And shall be logged in an index. So that's pretty much a description of what this review cycle is, it looks like. And yeah, as was mentioned, it doesn't look like it addresses partial review. I don't remember if our ordinance says anything, but it would seem like, and we're not, since this isn't residential, we're not under a specific time deadline, is what we decided, right?
So the timing on the cycles might not be there, but the cycles themselves are there.
Yeah, let's see. It does say in 10C, I don't know if this is relevant, if an applicant fails to address a review comment in response, the review cycle is not complete, and the subsequent review cycle may not begin until all comments are addressed. But it doesn't say, what it doesn't say is if the county fails to, address every particular thing, the review cycle is not complete. Because if it said that, that could open the door for, planning to provide comments, engineering to provide comments, surveyor to provide comments, and that could all be part of one single review cycle. Is it your position that each time there was a response submitted, that was a review cycle?
That's correct.
Okay.
And it looks like responses have been really detailed. Here's one. Any, from your perspective, have there been any responses that have been less than complete or not answering the whole question or anything like that?
I would say that he was able to provide his comment in detail, but from what I could see, my requests were not being
Addressed. Okay. The ask for the things weren't being provided, despite the fact that the request was addressed. At what point, sorry, I jumped in right in the middle of this review.
No problem.
Just because I wanted to make sure I was timely with your time. There's a few other aspects of this that we can address, but I think we kind of hinge on a little bit on this cross road here, as well as one or two other things. So I want to make sure we make this decision right, because if we got it wrong, then we got to waive things, and I want to make sure we do that the right way. So I dived in halfway through, but it sounds to me like you know the code and you know exactly where we are halfway into this, the context of this discussion. The first review, did the east-west road come up in the first review? Did that review cycle close?
Yes, it did.
It did close, and then it came up after?
Yes.
I think I asked two different questions. The east-west road came up after review number 1 was officially over.
The east-west came up on my first review.
In the first review.
And my second.
Okay. Okay.
So can I ask a question here? I'm sorry, I should know this. Is this preliminary?
It's a small sub, so it's prelim
Preliminary
and final.
at the same time?
And there's a little bit of a rub there because the way that prelim and final works together, it's actually supposed to be a successive thing. But the state code doesn't allow for successive because you have to get all your review done in number 1, so all of your preliminary and all of your final review has to be done, which is kind of nonsensical because sometimes you don't want your final plat even designed until you've got your preliminary adjusted the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I think that feeds right into the complaint about the surveyor saying, you guys work this out first before we even get involved in this. I could certainly see why he would say that, but why that would feel like it's a review.
Yeah. And when was it submitted?
When was it submitted?
Yeah, when was the preliminary, the final subdivision application submitted?
But just a small subdivision application, just
Small subdivision.
just a single ad
Yeah,
with the
sorry.
two things combined.
What was that?
So I have it.
February, January, something like that?
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have it created on the 10th of February and accepted on the 25th.
Okay.
So accepted, that means that is the complete application table.
And what was the timeline as far as the responses that came from the county to that? Just ballpark. I mean, was it kind of like one day you would get these, and a week later you'd get it from a
Right.
different department or something like that?
That's correct.
And do you know,
Yes.
do we know dates and reviews?
Yeah,
Yes.
so pre-application reviews, those were very shortly after as far as fires was.
Can we plug in? This would be good to see on the screen for quote me. I know when we created this, this was based on the state code change regarding the review cycles. We wanted to make sure that each iteration of the review cycle is clear, especially where we're trying to coordinate amongst different departments and authorities that have overlapping review responsibilities.
It'd be the two, it'd be HDMI 2.
I can get their remote to work. There we go.
So I have to like try again.
Yeah, give it another shot, see what it does. It sees it. Okay, there we go.
So this is pre-application. This is just review to see if it's a complete application.
Okay, so review one.
And then review 1.
So March 10th, March 17th, March 18th. And fire came on April 27th.
Wow.
So your thought, your argument here is that planning review, engineering review, and survey first final review constitute 3 review cycles?
We didn't treat it that way on this first set. As we saw them coming in, we were in the process of responding, right? So we began to address the issues on the March 10 review, and before we were able to finish and make a submittal, then the March 17th and the March 18th items came through. So we made a response on April 8 that addressed all of those.
I get it.
So we considered that to be the first review and response.
So the April 8th was basically the end of the first review cycle.
Right, because we responded to all of the comments.
See if Tammy's still here.
It would have been easier for us had they all come at the same time,
Yeah.
but we were able to get them all done in the same review response.
Okay.
How could that work?
And so then
I
what,
just wanted to get a sense on how we adjust our
So our first response was submitted on April 8th.
okay. And so back at pre-application maybe, what was the date that it was considered to be a final application that was submitted? Was it
It was
February 11th?
It was that one, February 25th.
February 25th.
Because that's when we accepted it and we took in payment.
Okay. Okay. So then April 11th, I think you said, was the
Yeah, April 8th, we made our resubmittal.
was the resubmittal. And that ended the first review. Okay.
Under the Documents tab is where you'll see all the things that we submitted and what day we submitted those on. So you'll see it there. Let me help answer part of this question. I don't think this April 27 review from fire is the accurate date. I think you got to look back to the previous, under the pre-application, you'll see two different dates.
Okay.
So their first review was actually February 23rd.
From fire.
And that's when they submitted the more information needed.
Okay.
And so really,
fire second review was the April.
right, yeah, they just ended up putting it in the wrong category. But
So fire didn't answer the end of April. They answered in February.
right, right.
That's one.
It was after the plan was accepted as complete application, but that's when he got around to it. He didn't do his initial response wasn't about completeness of the application, but it was his first review.
Okay.
So,
I see.
yeah, so I wouldn't claim that he didn't, respond until February 28th. That would be his second review.
Okay.
Okay, so what was the timeline for Felix on review 2? If they submitted their responses on April 8th, then was it April 23rd and 30th that planning and engineering
That's when
submitted?
he came back with
Second reviews.
second reviews.
Okay.
And then the fires would have been April 27.
Okay. And nothing from surveying.
Move
Right.
that. You probably should move that so the correct times, if the April 1 was supposed to be in review 2, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Oh, you're saying move fires?
April's fire review was supposed to be reviewed.
There's one that says more information needed. That really belongs in his review number 1.
The pre-app or review number? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that one.
That one would go to review 1, and then the February 29th one would go to review 2.
Yeah.
So you were to keep that record straight.
Yeah.
Okay, so April 8th, you submitted your response. That ended review, cycle number 1.
Right.
April 23rd and 30th, you got responses from planning and engineering, but never anything from surveying.
Clearly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so...
We got a response, and it was a response that said, I'm not going to look at.
Oh, that was when that happened?
That was the response, yeah.
Okay. And so, is that the end of it as far as the review cycles are concerned?
So we've got, if you go to documents, that'll show the submittals. So slide down just a hair to, you got the April 8. So there's the submittals that went into our first set of responses. Then April 21.
Looks like it was recorded on the
Yeah, okay,
consent,
so
not recorded.
here's the April 8, and then April 21, response to planning comments noted on April 22nd was inputted. Then again, additional county comments on April 24, then again on April 30th.
Okay. So, that's where we are?
That's how I'm getting to 4.
Okay.
So,
When we designed the website this way, it was actually designed just a little bit differently to avoid exactly this problem. It was designed so that nothing would be sent back to the applicant until all reviewers had completed their review. Unfortunately, we had 1 or 2 reviewers who took a long time, so it made it look like the rest of us had egg on our face. And last year we were underwater, so just really busy with the Ogden Valley Incorporation. So Cortland, I guess that leads to a question of, and let me pause. Is everybody okay with time?
Mhm.
Is it okay with time?
I have to leave pretty soon, but
Okay.
I got about another 15 minutes.
Okay, hopefully we can knock it out in 15. That leads to the question of, does the state code give us an element of latitude to define when a review begins and when a review ends? Is the fact that different responses are coming at different times during, does that constitute the beginning and end of a review per response that came over the course of many different days? Or could the county say, no, that response was within a reasonable period of time to say that it was all part of the review?
Well, Felix, will you pull up a county code section, please, if you have that available?
I know where you're going.
I mean, 106.1.5.20.
Who's attorney are you?
I'm looking at the law. I'm neutral. I'm looking at the law here. So look at B. Look at A and B, I guess.
Yeah. This is actually, there is pending legislation ongoing now. Planning Commission has issued a positive recommendation for the modifications. County Commission should pick up the changes to this section within the next 2 weeks. That's why I rolled my eye at you, because I knew exactly which section you were going to, because I saw a flaw in the code too. We started the change in legislation in January, but I don't know that anybody would have had reasonable notification of that until we posted for our first public hearing, which was in March.
Okay.
But that said, the question is would it be reasonable to pull the card of, well, we have changes moving forward that we want to apply to this one, despite the fact that it was applied for before those changes came in, or if this would fall under maybe less essential.
That's a good question. Because I mean, to me, looking at B, the county has 15 days to return all applicable information and recommendations to the applicant. And I would say that probably would trigger that provision that we looked at before that said if we don't address it at that, I mean, again, lots of room for argument here, but it's waived if we don't address it or reference it there. I mean,
And that's, make sure I understand. If we apply that 15-day business day review, so the county shall have that could be interpreted to mean county get your stuff done within 15 days, or it could be interpreted to mean applicant, you can't ask for the review comments for 15 days, right?
I would say the county has to return all its written comments within 15 business days.
Does it go both ways? Corlin, I shall have a moment to speak with you. Does that make sense how I'm reading it? The county shall have, you want to talk to me, sorry, let me change this.
As in, we're not required to provide it sooner than that? Yeah, I agree.
Okay, but we also can't go later than that.
Yeah, we can go earlier if we choose to.
We choose to,
but
okay.
I would say we have at least 15 days.
Okay.
I mean, not at least. I would say we can take 15 days if it takes us 15 days or if we choose to, but we can't go longer than that.
Okay, so let me sum up what I think the circumstances are with this application. The application came in, there was review responses that went back to the applicant in intervals, looked like it was initially over the course of a week. The question is does each of those constitute a different review? The question also is, if the county shall be given 15 days to do a review, does the county's voluntary response earlier than that constitute a complete review, despite the fact that it was only one agency responding? I mean, really, it would be great if this section said no review is complete until all agencies have responded.
Yeah.
And then if we don't give them anything back within 15 days, then nobody gets anything that they ask for.
Right. Now, I don't see anything here that says we can't consider each of the, it doesn't say we can, but it doesn't say we can't consider each of those to be just partial, and it's only complete when all agencies have responded or failed to respond, in which case maybe their review is waived, right? Like surveyors or something like that.
Can you rephrase that? Just restate it one more time.
So I guess I don't see anything in here that prevents us from having the planning division provide its response without that being a complete review. And then the engineering can provide its response a different day. Surveying can provide its response a different day. I think that would be okay, and it wouldn't be considered a complete review. At least from what I'm seeing, I don't see anything that prohibits us from kind of responding partially here, partially there, and only when it's complete is it considered to trigger a review cycle.
Okay, so going back to the applicant's representative initial assertion, state code doesn't allow partial reviews. Does it prohibit partial reviews?
I don't see anything in here that does. Unless I missed it or forgot it already. I don't see anything that says we cannot do that, unless I am mistaken. But I would think, based on our ordinance, if this applies, that's kind of the cutoff. You know, we have 15 days to return. And the way this whole section 5.20 here is written,
Recording in progress.
it basically contemplates each one of those agencies having the chance to review it. So I think it can be done a piece at a time.
And so go back to Frontier, let's have a look at those review cycles one more time. Just to parse this out, make sure we get it.
Yeah,
Want to see it, this one?
So review one, I think that fire review is supposed to be in review 2, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so go back to pre-app review, just I want to see when fire did their first one. So that's on February 23rd they did, that's interesting. What did he mess up? They did a review for completeness and then a review for the first review. Oh, no, he just was very
I called him and told him that his first review was not appropriately marked.
Oh, okay, okay.
And he says, oh, whoops.
Okay, it makes sense. So
That's why he's got the other one.
okay, so do we all agree that that second one is supposed to be in review number 1?
He was just very prompt.
Okay, just a immediate response, same day that he also marked it as a complete application. That's great. Okay, 223. Okay, go to the review one. Let's just look at the dates there. 10, 317, 318. So 223. So Dave was on Johnny on the spot. So and then 10, 17, and 18. How many days in between?
So how far is it from February 25 to March 18?
business
More than
days.
Just business days.
Oh, business. Yeah.
Oh, let's see. I mean, you can pull the calendar there too, but February 25th was a Wednesday, it looks like. I don't think there were any holidays in there because that was after President's Day. So the 4th would have been 5 business days. The 11th would have been 10 business days. The 18th would have been 15 business days.
So he's got it.
Wow.
So he's hit it right on.
Okay, so with that in mind, also, did you consider April 1st? That's April Fool's Day, right? That's, oh, never mind, we'll not worry about it. Okay, so assuming that that is correct, and that review came from surveying, and that review from surveying said, we're not doing a review.
No, that April or the March 18th was a complete review. He gave us some markings. He changed, said fix this, fix that.
Oh, okay. So the response that they gave to say we're not going to fix these things, was that before?
No. That's last week.
Okay.
April something. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go to, so that shifts us, assuming you're all looking at it the same way, and we've met with 15 days. In theory, now we're on review 2. Sorry, let's go back to the review. Review 2. We got a response from the applicant on which date?
April 8th, did you say?
8.
Okay. Wow. We might have broke the 15 days just with that period. 8, 13. No.
So the 15th, 22nd, 29th. The 29th would have been 15 business days.
Okay,
Right.
so engineering didn't get theirs in time. Okay. That's fun. The way you would look at the county code, we shall have 15 days. If we go over 15 days, do you think that that triggers the state statute that says that was your opportunity, everything is waived? Everything you didn't talk about already is waived.
I don't think it has anything to do with the dates. It has to do with the review
Itself.
and then the second review. And so some of these issues that we're talking about regarding this east-west road, there's been references to that in all of Felix's reviews. No question, he's been pushing for it, and I applaud him for his diligence. My point, though, is that what he asked for on review 1, I did.
Okay.
And he asked for something different on review 2, even though it's still related to that road. Let me read you the comment on review 1,
Okay, yeah.
which is in your review packet. But comment number 3 from planning says, the general plan shows a pathway alignment along the drainage canal. And so my response was, okay, we've updated the connectivity plan to show a 100-foot corridor for a possible future pathway and east-west road connection. So there's a connectivity plan which is separate from the engineering drawings and the plat that says, make everybody know someday the county might want an east-west road through here and a pathway. So we responded and addressed the comment on that one. Comment number 4, the general plan shows an east-west future minor commerce street 100-foot right-of-way. On the connectivity plan, show the planned 100-foot right-of-way alignment. Okay, so that's the request related to that east-west road. So we updated the connectivity plan to show the 100-foot corridor for the possible future pathway and east-west road connection.
Okay.
So that's the request in review number 1. It doesn't say give us an easement for it. It doesn't say put it on the plat. It doesn't say build a road. It doesn't say get rid of your cul-de-sac. It just says put it on the connectivity plan, which we did. And so to me, we've adequately addressed all of the requirements from review number 1 related to the east-west road and the east-west pathway. And it wasn't until review number 2 from planning, which came as an email on April 21. It says, I'm working on getting this project ready. This is an email from Felix. It's not quite ready for tomorrow's agenda, meaning that this meeting was supposed to have been originally thought on April 22nd. But he says, after having Charlie look it over, a couple of items came up. Cul-de-sacs and remainder parcels. And then a couple other things. And so that was an item, a comment set in the email that references the cul-de-sac. Whether that's part of, or if that's review 2, or it's part of a set of responses from planning that comprise review 2, in my mind, it doesn't matter because there was nothing in review 1 that said get rid of your cul-de-sac. In fact, the cul-de-sac's been there for 4 years. And it's always been there, and the properties, when they were divided up years ago, were divided up with the cul-de-sac. And so as a minimum, when we went for the pre-application meeting back in September, this issue should have come up. And yet here it is, not on review number 1. If we get to the next set of comments from planning, a couple.
Sorry, can I interrupt just a second? I just want to make sure we're looking at so I've seen county review number 2, It looks like they're showing here.
It's-
Are the review numbers that Felix has shown in the staff report here, are those the review numbers that correspond to what you think they are, what they do?
No.
Okay.
This was that one that I made reference to. This was the first time we got any comments. It was an email from Felix referencing apparently some comments you were thinking of. That was an email on April 21.
Okay.
We responded to those on April 21 by email, and that got logged in. I didn't log it in, but Felix logged it in as response to comments.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, oh, okay, so he's treated my email response as response to comments. Then we get April 23, 2 days later, an official review from planning that came to us through Frontier. And that one says, subdivision plan shall include an easement for a future public right-of-way in an east-west direction with minimum building setbacks shown on the subdivision plat and the civil design plan. That was comment one. To me, that's completely different from put it on the connectivity plan, acknowledging that maybe someday somebody might want to. This says, give me an easement for it.
Right.
And put it on the plat, and it's a done deal right now. So, so I'm responding saying, no, I don't have to do that, because the requirement was to put it on the connectivity plan. In future responses to this issue, there's a handful of things that relate to an effort to get this east-west road, which I absolutely. You've got a very diligent planner, and he's trying really hard to find more reasons why we're obligated to do something that provides us no value,
Right.
and yet costs us a fortune.
A lot of that.
And so I'm looking at that as not related to the project, provides no benefit to the project. It's a taking. And I absolutely acknowledge the county's right to take it
Right. With money.
with compensation. And we've responded in that manner. Let us know if the county wants to buy it. And we've gotten no response suggesting the county wants to buy it.
Okay.
And so I'm interpreting that the county doesn't want to buy it, doesn't want to buy the easement, doesn't want to buy the property. That this request came after the first review, so I don't think the county really wants it.
Okay.
That's how I'm interpreting the responses. I keep getting a different code and a different code and a different code, which I'm seeing as a different requirement.
Yeah. In a separate.
Yeah, this one about block length. Originally, it said you can't have a block. You can't have a terminal street over 800 feet. And it cited a code about 800 feet. And so my response was, not a problem. Our cul-de-sac's 745.
Yeah.
No biggie. I'm good. And then this next one comes and says, blocks, 10623 blocks. It states that the maximum length of blocks generally shall be 1,300 feet. And the minimum length of blocks, 500 feet. Placing an east-west intersection at the end of 9175 will satisfy this requirement. And I'm saying, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to add an intersection if we wanted to.
Right.
But the maximum block length is 1,300 feet, and my street is 745. I'm not at the maximum. I don't have to have another street, because I'm not at the maximum. And I'm not less than the minimum, so I don't have to get rid of a street. So I'm totally within the appropriate length for not having a block, because I haven't reached the 1,300. And more so, this section 10623 about blocks that talks about 1,300 and 500. That fits really well with a nice residential lot and block system. Everybody's got a 100-foot wide lot and a quarter acre on it, whatever, nice little place to live. But the code, that same code section in subsection 3 says, blocks intended for business or industrial use shall be designed specifically for such purposes with adequate space set aside for off-street parking and design facilities. So I interpret this whole section 106.23 about blocks to say, if this is an industrial or business type use, just make it what's right for your subdivision, which we did. And I think the cul-de-sac is the perfect thing for how these particular lots need to function.
Okay. No, I appreciate the explanation. I think that was very thorough. I wanted to start with the process side of things just to make sure if we were on the wrong side of things, it could have been an easy decision.
Yep.
We might have had to give up a few things. If we're on the right side of things, then it gets complicated and these kinds of conversations need to be fleshed out a little bit better. Let's maybe we can make somewhat short work of this. Would the owner be willing to set aside, not give, not donate, not have purchased yet, just set aside space that could be purchased by the county at some point in time? The biggest concern I think we have is a building goes up right in the middle and blocks everyone else's ability to actually make a reasonable street that doesn't depend or rely on 900 South. Do you think he would be willing to provide that space that the county could put a road through after we buy the land and build the road at that point?
Let me answer with a little more background.
Okay.
Your question was, would the property owner, as if it were singular.
Right.
But I got 5, right? I used to have 1, but that was years ago on a different application that we're still griped about, okay? And we're still griped about how we were treated and the process we went through with that. Nonetheless, we regrouped, we gathered together these 5 owners and said, let's move this through, and so that each one of you can have your lot subdivided and apply for a building permit. So I've got to get all of them to agree to things. Part of the problem that we have is that there's a sharing of costs, right? So if we suggest in any way that they have to build the road, they're going to say, forget it, I've already budgeted what I budgeted. The next problem I have is if we say, one of you has to contribute all this extra land, then it's not fair to the rest, and it's not what they planned on.
Is your original client, the owner, still of some of those lots?
Yes, he has 2, and there's another owner that has 2, and then there's 2 owners that have 1.
We can pull it up on screen. Just to help you with a little bit of context, a few years even before any of that started, Mr. Howard sat down with us to talk about this property. He had been doing a little bit of earthwork that we were really concerned about, wetlands violations and drainage issues, to the point that my understanding, and if I'm wrong, strike from the record, but my understanding is he was draining surface water into the sewer facility, and the sewer facility started to overflow. So
that's. I'm gonna say, you said correct you if you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So wrong. Okay. Not surface water. There was a groundwater problem in the pipes, in the sewer pipes he installed. There was a gasket. So there was groundwater seeping into that pipe.
Okay. So it had nothing to do with that drainage.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, if it did have anything to do with drainage, it's the water that's on it. Okay. Yeah. That makes more sense. That was the reason why Mr. Howard was brought in. At the time it was brought in, we noticed that it had been divided up into a few 5-acre parcels. We asked him what was happening. We could see that there was one of those parcels, actually I think 6. Another parcel was the street parcel.
Yes.
And he said, it's an ag division of land, we're not in violation. And I let him know at that time that if he doesn't have a notice that runs with the property pursuant to state code that it is an ag division of land, then it is not a lawful division. But that's not something we really care too much about, because we usually take care of those things through subdivision, through building permit, through design review. And we're not obligated to give approval of subdivision, building permit, design review if, I was thinking about violations of that.
I do remember all these because I've been working on this parcel.
Okay, so you might have been part of that meeting.
Since like 2020 or something.
Okay.
Or 2019 or something like that. So I'm aware of what you're sharing.
No worries.
Thanks, Felix.
The response I got back from Mr. Howard was, we do believe that we're within our legal rights, that we do it this way. And so he was basically asking why, what's the concern here?
Yeah.
And my concern that I recall stating in that meeting was, I'm concerned that you're going to sell these 5-acre pieces to someone who doesn't know it's not a subdivision lot and doesn't know that they can't get a subdivision, a building permit until after they've figured out how to work with all of those other landowners who also bought it there, unsuspectingly, to figure out how to build the infrastructure and all that. Whereas if Mr. Howard did it the correct way the first time, he could have sold those lots, recouped the cost on improvements, and sold each of those lots respectively. So we were very concerned exactly what is happening, was going to happen.
Actually, it didn't happen.
Okay.
Because what you just described absolutely did not happen.
Help me understand that.
You said your concern was that he would sell it to buyers who were not aware that a subdivision plat was required and who were unaware of how to get through the process and to build all those things.
Right.
And so rather than doing that, as he sold them to them, he had already turned in the application in 2021.
That was the first time around.
Yeah, something like that. And so he had turned in the application. He was moving down the process of getting it all approved for them. And he set up a cost sharing agreement so that they all had to contribute to the cost of the road and provided a budget to them.
Okay.
So they all know what they have to do before they can get a building permit. And several of them are more than furious that they don't have a subdivision.
Yeah.
Because they would like to move forward and they know that they can't.
Yeah.
And so Mr. Howard and I helped him on it. We worked on getting the subdivision for these parcels who are today part of the group.
Yeah.
And then the Hampton piece to the northeast, he submitted separate. He didn't want to be part of us, didn't want to be held up by us, and didn't want to contribute to the cost of the road.
Yeah.
And he wasn't part of the cost sharing agreement.
Okay.
So he submitted separately, and we submitted as well.
As was not approved.
And it expired. Months and months and months with no review comments. We had an administrative review meeting just like this. Mm-hmm. And at the meeting, engineering showed up and said, well, we haven't reviewed this project. Their prior review had been 8 months prior. Mm-hmm. And then they showed up and said, oh, we haven't done it. So the project got tabled. And a couple of weeks later, he gave us some comments. We responded to those comments, and then it sat. And we kept trying and trying to get it to resurrect itself and finish out. And as we got to the end of 2024, Felix provided his notice and said, your dates, your expiration date's coming up. Put in a request for an extension. So we wrote a request for extension. Silence went by, and then we kept following up with emails. I need a written documentation about the extension, and instead, boom, here you're expired. So that's why there's all this frustration, is that we all have tried to get it approved, not just us, but the Hampton piece, his expired as well. He's also frustrated.
So the expiration that occurred, those were two separate applications that came in.
Right.
His expired for different reasons, I'm assuming, than
Hampton's?
Than what the Howard.
I didn't do his design, so he had a different engineer. But timing-wise, he's already past that time as well.
Okay.
And that was like a January. It's in the Frontier under a different application number, but.
I have to do a little bit.
It expired regardless.
Yeah.
And so it took us 6 or 8 months to gather everybody back together and get them to have enough courage to say, fine, we'll try this again.
Yeah.
And so we started with that pre-op meeting last September, and now here we are.
Okay.
Hence, we're very anxious when the staff report says, just table it. I'm like, I've been here before. I'd rather it not get tabled, and especially not for the reasons listed under the comments.
Well, I hope you can appreciate the amount of time we want to put into this to make sure that we get the decision right. After looking through everything, knowing a little bit of the history of the property, which it's been very helpful to come up to speed, because it looks like from a code perspective on a few different points, I think a denial would stand. And we can disagree or agree on whether or not it would. We can, I'd love to see an ombudsman making a decision on that. But if we didn't hit the obligations on our procedural due process, then we might have to go a different direction. So my intention was to actually come in, do some fact finding, get some information from you and from Felix, table it, and go to either next week or 2 weeks to most likely come up with some strong findings for denial. Knowing that, I want to make sure you're not in the churn cycle forever. That was the whole point of the 4 review cycles going to state code. You can't just keep them in the churn cycle. Probably the last application process you guys went through is a good example of that, if it all happened that way. So would you and your clients rather have a more immediate answer of if the answer is negative, or would you rather hang tight for a couple of weeks while Cortland and I confer and I go through all the details to determine whether or not we do have a strong argument for denial? I don't want to string you along that much. I'll give you a denial tonight if I need to. If I give you the denial tonight if I need to, my findings will probably be a few days behind it though, but I can put some effort over the next few days to make sure they get in there. Caveating that with, I'm still not sure from the procedural side that we're in good standing, so I just need to make sure that that's covered. Would you guys rather just get an answer so you can get to the ombudsman and get to an appeal, or would you rather waive it?
Our preference has always been we ought to be able to work this out.
Okay.
And the challenge that we've had is that each time we get another set of comments from planning, there's a different code reference and there's a different explanation about this or that. And I'm like, we gave you this, we gave you that, we've set aside this and we've set aside that. And yet, when I see the staff report today, it goes back and starts picking up comments that we've addressed all the way through, and then makes reference to, oh, it hasn't been addressed. And I can see if they said, he didn't give me what I wanted.
Yeah.
I
wanted to suss that out.
Yeah, I think that's really what's going on. And but the problem we're having is that it wasn't an item required at the beginning.
Right.
The cul-de-sac has always been the plan for years. And the parcels, as you see, were created, the road parcel was created to do that with the cul-de-sac. And in the past, county engineering insisted that the road must be private.
Yes.
I don't want to have to go plow that. And I'm thinking to myself, you're not gonna plow it. You haven't
Wait
plowed
for the sun to come up.
Yeah. But he was like, we don't want maintenance responsibilities. Make it private road. So the last application process, it was a private road. This time around, planning says, no, we want that public. So we're like, fine, public it is. And
You can tell there's a little bit of internal back and forth.
yeah, and then some of the comments we're getting, for example, this we still got this remainder parcel thing, and Felix brought it up, and we're adamant that we don't have a remainder parcel.
Okay.
This application, this subdivision, does not leave any remainder property.
Okay.
Because we're talking about remainder parcel, the Hampton parcel, this northeast.
Yeah.
That's not part of our project. That was separated years and years ago, and he made separate application to get it approved for subdivision. He doesn't want to be part of our process.
Yeah.
He didn't want to contribute to our costs, right? And so it's the subject of a separate subdivision application. He's not trying to have an illegal use,
Right.
right? He's trying to get a subdivision approved,
Right.
which he
A
also
legal
was,
lot.
also wasn't able to accomplish previously. So when we went back through, he's the one who says, leave me out of it. So to me, there's no remnant parcel here. And yet it comes up again on the staff report. So I'm adamant that the remainder parcel definition doesn't include him.
Before you move on from that subject,
Okay.
I do believe the state statute is very clear about how this works, and I do believe the county statute is very clear about how this works. A subdivision is not a subdivision plat, right? Subdivision is defined as the division of land, and the only exception to the division of land is ABC, written in state code. This was subdivided by Mr. Howard into 5-acre pieces. The exception under state code that it could be done under agricultural purposes with a recorded document to the title that says this is ag only, which never happened, but he didn't. He's trying to fix the problem, so we're not gonna. We don't need to take that to issue. That subdivision divided it into these pieces. As soon as Mr. Hampton picked up that property, he was picking up as a agriculture-only parcel, which can, by state statute and county statute, be a remnant piece. If he had gone through and platted his parcel,
Which he tried to do.
it didn't get done. And I know why it didn't get done.
Oh, okay.
At least I have half the information on why it didn't get done. It had to do a lot with the improvements that Mr. Howard hadn't put in.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that's Mr. Howard's fault. I mean, they're all individuals, right, making their own property right decisions. But we wouldn't give them access to 12th Street. 12th Street's a limited access road. We've got the codes that say if you need to limit your accesses.
Sure.
The whole point of making sure that tracts of land get subdivided through the correct process is so that we can address things and not have multiple accesses, in part, a bunch of other things as well. So had his actually got platted, his is platted, the rest of it would have been remainder parcel. Not required to be platted, not required to go in the subdivision boundaries, all required to be ag.
I'm not sure I would refer to them as remainder parcel. I would refer to them as ag-related parcels.
Okay, that's fair.
And I understand this whole issue. He's supposed to be using it for ag, and I don't represent him, so I can't really speak for him. But there's some storage boxes.
Yeah,
I don't know what's in them. Maybe he has ag equipment in them. I don't know.
Okay.
I just can't speak for him, and I wouldn't speak against him either.
Mr. Howard or Mr.
Hampton.
Hampton.
Yeah, he's the one that's got the containers out there.
How many acres does he have?
6 or something like that. 6 1/4.
So that one may qualify as an ag partition. He would need the recorded document to suggest that it is an ag partition of land, but
Well, I don't think that's what he wants it to be.
I know.
So I'm
That's the
just saying I'm letting him handle his side, and I work for all the other owners, and I'm trying to get it approved and get a permit so I can go build the road.
Yeah. No,
And building the road would solve Mr. Hampton's issues apparently, because the way you've described it, that seems to be the issue.
I'm sure there's other parts too.
I don't know. Anyway,
let me-
but that's my back and forth with you on that.
Appreciate
But
I wanted to pull up the remainder parcel section of code just to make sure that's pretty clear on the record.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to. I thought I had it here. Maybe I wanted to start
I think we saw it in your April 21 letter or email.
Yeah.
10624-010.
Part F, right? Yep. Zero.
Yep.
So 0,
Yes.
0, part F. Subdivision shall not exclude from its boundary any part of a remainder or of a parcel affected by the subdivision unless the remnant parcel is exempt from the definition of a subdivision under state or county code or exempt from platting requirements by state code, because there's more than just agriculture that allows for the exemption. Remnant parcel size, allowed remnant parcel size shall be no less than 5 acres. We're okay with that. And be recorded with the agricultural notice specified, and retroactive compliance. Here's the rub. The code anticipates this happening.
Okay.
The code anticipates any parcel that was created as a result of being a remainder from a platted subdivision, including those that do not comply with the recorded notice of provisions, 1727A 605, that is later used for any use other than agriculture, is no longer exempt from the requirements of this title and shall retroactively be made to comply with this title and applicable state codes.
So if Hampton chooses not to use it for ag purposes, his needs to be subdivided. But I don't have to include him in my subdivision because he's a separate property owner and refuses to sign our subdivision plat. So he's going through his own process to be compliant. Every single one of these owners wants to be compliant, and they're trying to make that happen on their second time around.
Okay, but great. That was a good conversation point. Let me asterisk this so I can bring it up with Cortland to talk about, because I could see how you're seeing that too.
I can't force him to sign my plat,
No.
and I can't force him to be part of, and I absolutely know I will never be able to force him to contribute to the cost of the road construction. And there ends the rub. He's not obligated to under his current purchase arrangement from years ago.
Well, I hope this doesn't go to court or anything like that, because I'll have to testify that I sat in a meeting with him and said, you're not going to get access to 12th Street. You're going to need to build that road, and it's not on your property. So how are you going to do this?
He has an easement.
To build the road on where the road.
Oh, in this road, yeah, he has an easement on that road strip.
So he could do it.
He could go do it all by himself without getting contributions from the others.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do that either.
No, that's fair. That's fair, and it's a great illustration, I think, of
Yeah.
why when something is subdivided, we just want to make sure it's done the right way, so we stop. We don't have these battles.
My goal in all of this is that if we can get ours approved, we'll go build the road. That opens the opportunity for him to get it through here.
Okay.
And his access, he has access. It's just not paved.
To start using that roadway.
Yeah, and he does use the road.
Okay.
It's just a dirt road.
And let me check in with you.
And it's a private dirt road because it hasn't been
For now.
gone through the subdivision plat process.
So we would actually be solving that problem with the creation of the subdivision plat and the dedication of that road.
Yeah.
Has there been any request for no access or pioneering or anything like that? Is the owner or the other owners wanting him to contribute before he can get access to that street?
I would say they all wish that the original sales arrangement had been different.
Okay.
But it's clear his purchase did not require him to contribute to the road.
Okay. Our code doesn't allow, what are they called, blocking strips or?
Yeah, no, there's none of that.
Okay, good.
No.
Okay, that helps me get a little bit more comfortable. This explanation about the remnant parcel, especially being the right size, helps me get a little more comfortable. Okay. Last but not least, I guess, well, let me make sure I got my notes.
You asked if we'd rather have a denial tonight or in a few weeks. We'd rather have an approval.
Me too, actually. I don't like it. There have been so few times I've ever recommended or actually denied. Well, there were a few things I was going to bring up, but I think our review cycle and our comments prohibits me from even applying them, so I won't do so. Well, maybe I'll put on the record just for you to know, in case it comes up again. As we move forward with this subdivision, hopefully we can get to an approval. The county does require sidewalks. It does require street trees. We do have a complete street cross-section with dimensions. I am very confused myself about why none of that was provided to you in the review. So understanding, we probably can't give that to you now or make you do it now. I'm still not aware or sure of what the engineers are asking for as far as that street. I know our engineer wanted it to be private. He came and asked me why it's not private. He's concerned about operations and maintenance. I get it. He's also not looking at what the revenue is coming from the subdivision. Way more than comes from a residential subdivision, which we require all those to be public.
Right.
He's also not aware that our subdivision code does not allow private streets unless it's a certain amount of lots or more, or in a master plan community. So
We are totally fine with the public street.
yeah.
And I think
And
it
you don't have
was,
to have operation and maintenance costs over time.
well, and I think it will help solve the issues for Mr. Hampton.
Okay, good. Yep,
So,
very good. So then the last question would be the east-west road. If that was part of the review from the beginning, and that is the only thing the approval is hinged on, if we have some kind of a agreement or come to some kind of agreement on process and all that, I mean, I'm not going to argue that we can't give you any more surveying requirements, because I think we probably waived that. Not to say that you wouldn't do it. You're probably
we want a good plat.
Yeah,
We're
reasonable.
absolutely going to have a great plat.
Okay, so the question is going to be then on the east-west road. I do think we've got a pretty strong argument. I do understand your argument. I understand your argument very much. I've read a few of the Ombudsman's opinions regarding stub streets. I've also spoken with the Ombudsman and a few of those jurisdictions, just in different past conversations about circumstances like this. And I think the challenge is that the jurisdiction has not put together the rational basis argument. They tried to, they just didn't put it all on the record.
Yeah.
And so the decision the Ombudsman made regarding stub streets up in North Logan, my understanding is that was because North Logan's argument was not all on the record. The Ombudsman didn't have all of it. But here nor there, I would want to make sure this gets into the record. But I'm also like, I think that the county has, well, I was going to say a reasonable and rational argument to require the installation of an east-west road, but if that's not something we brought up in our reviews, then probably not. In fact, we probably have to go back to whatever our initial review was, and now we come back to your argument of, we asked to put it on the connectivity plan, but not on
Right.
the plat. So then, okay,
Now,
I'm the other circle.
to help you reach a compromise in your mind,
Yeah,
we voluntarily added a PUE 50 feet wide centered on the drainage corridor.
running along at an angle.
Yeah, well, it comes along through here and then down through here. So we've got that, and of course this is an old map,
Yeah.
and so that's not where the drainage channel is anymore.
Okay.
But it comes over this way, and then it's piped through a segment, and then picks up again, ties into this. So we've already put that on there in an effort to say we're
compromise.
going to save you the 50 feet and not let anybody else build it within the 50 feet. And so there's a PUE protecting that corridor on the thought that if anybody ever needs to put it in, here we've saved it for you without even being paid. No compensation required for that. Someday if you want to actually build the road and buy the property outright, then whoever the owners are at the time can have that discussion.
Yeah, at least we've got a space for it.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that is, I had a few different tiers of compromise that I'd be comfortable with, given a lot of this other information. I may not have any basis to get to some of the upper tiers that I'd like. Corlin, just to get a little clarification from you, public utility easement versus county utility easement, which one would be most beneficial for the county in the future? If it's a public utility easement in which the county has no ability, right, franchise agreement or anything to actually occupy in the future, whether or not we buy it, that's not going to be any benefit to us. But would a county utility easement help preserve that for the possibility, not the obligation for the county to buy it, the possibility, not the taking against the applicant? just carving that 50-foot space open, which obviously I prefer 60, but 50,
Yeah.
you can get some good.
It's just what we had told all the owners when they bought. We saved it then.
Okay.
One of the comments that Felix has made recently is that here's the drainage channel, and then it's piped from here to here. You can kind of see here's the cul-de-sac, and then the drainage channel comes here and then down this way. So his answer was, "Oh no, I don't want it to bend." And I'm like, "Too late, man."
Right.
You know, this guy who owns this, he's not gonna let
Cut the
me
corner off.
run it right through the middle of his piece.
Yeah.
So I can't fix it today,
Okay.
because then he's losing something that he didn't anticipate at the time of purchase.
Let's see. Brad Russell. There is still the potential ability for the county through design review and building permitting to address rough proportionality concerns. So we're not completely foregoing the ability. And I'm a little nervous about the narrowness of that lot and the easement taking a quick turn there. The easement would help me be comfortable, just from a theoretical perspective. I would be comfortable with the easement if I knew that I had the teeth to go to either landowner on the other side, either side, and when they go to develop and say, we've got codes that say stub in, we're going to make sure we do our review the right time the first time and get it all in the reviews. You need to stub your streets, or at least your empty rights of way to this easement that the county may or may not choose to buy in the future, but the landowners aren't building with them. Does that make sense? And if
You're saying don't build too close to that 50-foot corridor.
Right. In part saying that, but mostly I'm saying, I don't know right now. Our code says that if there is a right-of-way stubbed to the property line, then the neighbor has to stub.
I got
To
you.
that
Oh,
property.
the next guy over has
Next
to.
guy over.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to, but if we just have an easement stub, can I tell them that that's the connection? And if I can, the east side makes sense. The west side, I have a little question about.
It's at an angle, and it isn't quite
Ideal.
nice. The reason, of course, is that that's the drainage channel,
Yeah.
and this channel has really close to no slope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we were to reroute the drainage channel over and then down the line,
Mhm.
that would add several hundred feet to the length with no added elevation
Yeah.
change, and now
Becomes a great
it's going to be
vacation
worse.
facility.
Which-
Not a flow.
Yeah, which is part of, we carry a lot of gripe. Okay, it's a puddle right now because the county came in a few years back, dug it all out as a maintenance and cleaning thing,
Yeah.
and then stopped when they got the railroad, and so they dug it out 2 extra feet deep all the way along, and then the culvert under the railroad, they didn't get a permit to fix the culvert, so it stays with 2 feet of water in it year round.
The mosquito plague.
It's horrible, yeah, and yet we've been impacted by that, and we're frustrated by what happened to us through county maintenance that went part way,
Yeah. that makes sense.
and so. It's not that we say that the channel can't be here. We know where it needs to be, but I don't want to make it longer.
Okay.
And of course, this other question about do we have wetlands, which keeps coming up, and there it is on your document again.
Yep.
We would say we absolutely don't have any jurisdictional wetlands. Because if we had jurisdictional wetlands in a drainage channel, right, then the county would have definitely gotten a permit from the Corps of Engineers before they went and dug it all out.
Wouldn't that?
I'm sure
that
they
seems
would
very
have.
appropriate that
Yeah.
the county would have done that.
Yeah, sure. So therefore, given that they didn't, then I'm sure the county doesn't deem these to be jurisdictional wetlands, even though there is one little stripe with some water in it.
Okay.
Didn't used to have water all the time, but now it has water year round.
How long ago was that again?
About 3 years ago.
Okay, so probably not long enough to get the Army Corps to be upset about yet.
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, so I'm just frustrated that it would come up
Right.
today as a comment. Table this project because the National Wetland Inventory, that's notoriously wrong, shows all of these wetlands, and the fact that we've preserved a 25-foot each side of center corridor means I'm not building on it.
Right. Right.
So even if it were wetlands of some jurisdiction,
Right.
I've already protected them.
Okay.
So
I don't know all of the Army Corps rules, all the statutes regarding wetlands, and so I'm not sure under what auspice the county went and did the dig out or whatever exactly we did. I also am not sure what rules, what the site conditions were like when the Army Corps painted it with their very broad brush. We agree, very
Right.
broad brush. We
Very
have a lot of
much.
properties out here with a lot of wetlands on there, and
Yeah.
one that's just 2 parcels over, 200 acres. They did a wetlands delineation. They didn't find any,
right.
but it's bright green on the map.
Yeah.
That said, I don't know if the county had, I don't know, for example, maybe a bad example, but emergency declaration powers to go in and clear that out because of a drainage issue, that the Army Corps would be respectful of it, not paying us. I think you're probably right. If the county did something it shouldn't have done, it probably would behoove us to not make a bigger problem out of it.
Yeah.
But we also want to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's regardless of whether or not we were a court performer.
My biggest concern is that if we didn't have wetlands before, and
Might have
now
them now.
the county has dug it out and created a puddling effect all the way
Yes.
along the stripe, do I have wetlands now?
No, the question.
Have we been damaged,
Right.
and the value of the property is now impacted by a little strip of wetlands that wasn't there before?
Okay.
I'm a little concerned about it. The problem I have is that the wetlands expert has been too busy. He's coming next week.
Okay.
So,
And that's not necessarily Army Corps. That's someone you're hiring
right.
to come out.
Yeah,
and
you
review.
have to do a study first,
Yeah.
and then you can present to the Army Corps. And they either accept or reject your study.
Yeah. If it's the same guy that I know who does a lot of work out here, I know where he's walking. I know where he is right now. He's probably trying to identify things. So
Oh, I don't know which guy you're referring to, so.
there's a lot of stuff over by the river that developers are looking at. So, okay, you've gotten me to a higher level of comfort. I still don't know what my answer is yet. Let me peel back a little bit on the wetlands question, because I don't understand, and it's hard for me to say anything other than what the engineers have said. But I'll figure that part out. I'll confer with Cortland a little bit further on some of these other items, just to verify that we're not giving up the obligation we have to the public trust for no good reason. That we have an obligation to do that under state statute. So just making sure we're doing the right thing there. Ag parcel, right of way. Okay, and then just making sure those reviews, looking at how they plugged into the timelines for procedural due process. It might still be about a week before I can get back to you, but at least at that point, it's probably looking a little higher. I'd give it over 50% chance potentially of approval unless Cortland shows me something that I'm not aware of. But if your clients are comfortable waiting a week to hopefully get approval, I will be upset with myself if you wait a week to get a denial, but I'll let you know as soon as I know that there's a challenge that might take us away from an approval next week.
Okay.
So give me a few days. So I'll table the item officially for the record. You guys can all go home and have dinner with your families. Sorry for keeping you all
Sounds
here.
great.
I really appreciate your time on this. This was a complicated one from the beginning, and it's well, good to work through the different issues, and I like the idea of compromise much better than having the ombudsman have to get involved, or anyone for that matter.
We prefer to just get it finished. Our goal is really to go build that road this year.
Okay.
And I have to get subdivision approval
Before
so
you
that I
start
can go
doing
build
that.
the road. And given all the way the comments have come through, I have to go build the road and put in the utilities before I can get the final will serve letter from the water company.
That-
I'm like,
I
that's not how
understand.
it's supposed to work,
I
but that's
understand
what
that
they're
very-
saying.
Yeah, no, I understand that frustration very well. I've
Yeah.
tried to work with them in the past on, it was actually one of the questions I had that I got answered before we even came in here. Why don't they have a will serve letter, or code requires a
Yeah.
will serve letter for a complete application? Well, we got an ability to serve letter.
Right.
I can't get a will serve letter until they paid all their impact fees.
And it even says, and put in all the water lines. So I'm not opposed to doing it. I just can't do it until I get an approval over here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and it's summertime and the contractors want to get to work and we got to get it all done and paid before winter comes. And so
Yeah.
everybody's anxious to move this forward.
Okay.
And we're just kind of going, they really thought I'd be done by now. And
Okay.
I'm anxious to move forward.
We beat you up pretty hard.
Another week isn't going to kill us. But given
If it's approval, right?
yeah, if it's approval, that's right. But given what we've been through for the last several years,
A little reticent to
We're-
believe it's just going to be.
we're anxious to just move forward and build a road. And and if there's something we can figure out to reach a compromise, I can't always guarantee that whatever owner we're going to impact is going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But we should talk about everything. And there's some things I can work out. Other things I can talk to the owner of that parcel. And sometimes I'm going to say it's just not going to fly.
Yeah, not worth it, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, well, let's move to there, and I'll be in touch at least by next Wednesday.
Sounds great.
Hopefully sooner.
Thank you.
Good to meet with you.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's convene the meeting.